When the final whistle blew, Lionel Messi did not run to the stands to celebrate, like he usually does. He did not raise both hands to the sky, or scream out in the raw joy of victory. Instead of all that, cameras caught the Argentina captain bowing his head. His eyes went red, sobbing right on the pitch. Within seconds, his teammates rushed over to swarm him. The tears kept flowing, streaming down the face of a man who had conquered almost every single peak that football could ever offer him. It was a sight that left fans totally stunned and deeply moved. Before the 2026 World Cup, many people believed he would enter the tournament purely as a living legend, just to enjoy his final days playing for his national team. After winning the 2022 World Cup trophy and owning 8 Ballon d'Ors plus endless trophies, he seemed to have absolutely nothing left to prove. But it turned out, Messi's burning hunger for victory never cooled down. Time is the one opponent nobody can defeat, not even Lionel Messi. Fans were long used to a Messi who could dribble right from midfield, carving through a crowd of defenders, before scoring with the kind of unbelievable magic on the pitch that you normally only see in video games. That classic version stunned the entire world with sheer speed, insane explosion, and an ability to change the match in mere seconds. But 2026 Messi is different. He no longer has those blistering runs, as effortless as in his golden years. Those long bursts of acceleration have faded over the years. Instead, he plays purely on experience now, relying on genius tactical vision and reading the match like nobody else. He knows exactly when to slow things down, when to burst forward, and when to drop deep to link up play. But this heavy match against Egypt forced Messi to do much more than what any 39-year-old should ever shoulder. He kept drifting constantly, trying to open up space, dropping deep to collect passes, taking charge of orchestrating the entire play, constantly lifting the spirits of those around him. This was no longer the role of a simple forward. He was acting like a true leader, ready to take on more weight when his team needed him. Sometime after the 70th minute, the glaring signs of Messi's exhaustion became very clear. His strides were growing much heavier now. The explosive pace he had early on was entirely gone. Every single touch on the ball clearly showed he had drained nearly every drop of his energy. Yet, he refused to stop fighting. No looking over to the bench for a sub, without any sign of giving up or accepting the harsh limits of his age. Messi kept dragging himself to where the action was, still pushing his teammates forward, leaving every last drop of his soul out on the pitch for Argentina. Maybe it was because he had completely and utterly drained both his body and his spirit that made those final moments of the match feel so incredibly special. Those raw tears were a total release, after an exhausted body had pushed past its limits, way beyond what was humanly possible. But if you only look at the final scoreboard, many people will only remember that goal from Messi, or Argentina booking their spot in the quarterfinals. But to Messi himself, what truly haunted him most after the whistle was that missed penalty kick. Messi did not run from it. Speaking in his interview right after the final whistle, he frankly admitted he was deeply disappointed for failing to convert the penalty from 11 meters out. He even believed that if he scored that goal, the entire match might have gone completely differently. What's remarkable is this: Messi could have easily focused only on the victory, on the team spirit or the ticket to the next round, but he didn't do that. The first thing he wanted to talk about was his own mistake. That is exactly what makes a champion stand out. After over 20 years at the absolute top, with a collection of trophies that any player in the world would dream of, Messi still refuses to let himself off easy or overlook a single imperfect moment. He still feels deeply responsible for every single missed chance and for his own errors, because he knows that at the World Cup, even the smallest slip-up has the power to decide the fate of his entire team. That heavy, lingering torment explains the reason why those emotional tears of his after the match carried such deep, raw emotion. It was a release after a long period of self-torment, when all that crushing pressure is finally lifted, and the heavy weight is removed from his shoulders. Messi finally allowed himself to release all those raw feelings that he had tried so hard to bottle up. Perhaps what makes fans love Messi so deeply over all these years is how he confronts his mistakes. He does not blame his circumstances, makes absolutely no excuses, and never runs from his responsibility. He simply accepts that he made a mistake, carrying that lingering guilt with him until the very end of the match, and turning it into powerful motivation to keep fighting hard for the team. That is a rare quality that dry stats and trophies can never fully explain. But it is exactly what makes Lionel Messi a truly special leader in the hearts of Argentines and football fans across the entire globe. Messi has still missed sitters that seemed absolutely impossible to miss. He has suffered painful losses in major finals and endured endless, harsh criticism while wearing the national colors. And more than a few times, he missed high-stakes penalty kicks on the biggest stages. He even declared his retirement from the Argentina national team after their painful defeat at Copa America 2016, before he returned to write one of the most beautiful stories in football history. What sets Messi apart is not that he somehow avoids making mistakes, but how he chooses to face them. After failing to convert a crucial penalty kick, he does not hang his head in defeat or let his confidence shatter. He kept calling for the ball. He kept showing up in critical spaces, and he remained the mental anchor for his team. Every run he made, every track back to help out, every desperate shout to rally his teammates, it all showed a player refusing to let a mistake define who he is. That takes a kind of mental strength few actually possess. That right there is the mark of a true champion. Asked about the moment he broke down, crying after the final whistle, his answer was brief but brutally honest. It was a feeling of pure relief, mixed with heavy disappointment over that missed penalty earlier on. Just those few words are enough for anyone to understand what he went through, mentally and emotionally. Throughout the entire match, Messi was eaten up by guilt, convinced he had squandered the chance to put his team in a much safer position. For a man who always puts the team first, that mistake was a heavy burden he couldn't easily shake, though he kept playing on, giving everything and fighting right down to the final whistle. Deep down, he was still tearing himself apart. Only when the final whistle finally blew did all that crushing pressure melt away. In that moment, Messi stopped trying to stay strong and act calm. He didn't have to hide his bottled-up feelings anymore. For over 90 long minutes, the tears just came flooding out on their own, washing away all the tension, the raw anxiety, and the heavy self-blame. Some people say crying is a sign of weakness, but in Messi's case, it's different. It was the mark of a man who gave absolutely everything. He cried out of relief that his team survived. He cried because he was finally able to forgive himself. And he cried knowing that this tournament is likely to be his very last World Cup, where every single match could be the final chapter of a journey that has lasted over 20 years. Those heavy tears, they did not just belong to Messi. These tears represented much more. All the crushing weight that any true leader must silently bear alone. While millions of fans only care about the final score, they do not see the brutal psychological war waged behind closed doors, a silent struggle that only Messi himself truly understands. When speaking after the final whistle, Messi did not talk about himself. Instead, he pointed right back to his Argentina teammates. This squad simply refuses to ever give up. We fight right until the final minute. High praise meant entirely for his actual teammates, the driving philosophy behind Argentina throughout their intense run to defend the crown. And here is the twist. Messi himself is the ultimate embodiment of that exact spirit. While the sight of Messi crying broke hearts everywhere, the words of head coach Lionel Scaloni after the match proved that this raw emotion had gripped the entire squad. Argentina. Scaloni admitted he could not hold back his own tears. In fact, he even let slip that his players often tease him as a crybaby because he gets so emotional after these major games. While it comes off as a warm inside joke, but it highlights the unique family atmosphere deep inside the tight Argentina dressing room. Inside those secret walls, heavy tears are never viewed as some sort of soft weakness. They are just a natural, human reaction from battle-tested men who have lived and breathed football for 15 long years, tasting both absolute glory and bitterness. They understand the value of every single moment on pitch. Scaloni says anyone who played ball for 25 years will understand that intense feeling. It is days like this, with all the mounting pressure, the raw emotion, and ultimate release, that explain why so many former players choose to become head coaches, not for the cheap fame or shiny trophies, but to survive these brutal challenges together as one, and share those heavy emotions. Nothing can ever replace that. That also explains exactly why Argentina under Scaloni always feels like something truly special. They are a squad bound by trust and deep empathy. From the players to the coaching staff and everyone behind the scenes, they all share a single focus: living through the exact same emotional highs and lows together. When the cameras catch Messi breaking down in tears, and then Scaloni choking back his tears during those raw post-match interviews, every single fan understands that victory was built on far more than just tactics or technical skill. It was forged by actual human beings, ready to pour their entire hearts into that jersey. That is exactly why those raw tears pierce deep into the hearts of millions across the globe. Those tears do not come from weakness, but from the massive weight on a captain. He never once allowed himself to ignore his team's fate. They are the pure product of pressure and love, of a burning desire to win, and of an unchanging devotion spanning back over 20 years. Because every single tear shed after the match does not just speak of a victory, it speaks of the fierce pride of a leader, about the unquenchable fire inside a living legend, and the fighting spirit